sound. You've just heard Zeke on the piano, which is, what kind of instrument? Percussion instrument, it is. You have to strike the key to get the sound, even though it is loaded with strings. The striking is the biggest part of the instrument, so it's generally considered percussion. If you call it a string, well, you might be wrong on a college exam, but for the most part, people would understand if you said string, but it is a percussion instrument. And we have the 4 families of percussion: strings, brass, no, what is it? Brass?
Yeah.
And woodwinds, sorry. And so Zeke is gonna start out by just showing us brass and how you get this, no, percussion. And how you get the sounds out. You already know the piano now, so he's gonna go right into the percussion.
All right, hello. So percussion is the most simple in a lot of ways. The standard idea of percussion is that you hit something and it makes a sound. So this is percussion. So when you blow on something or pull or push on something and it creates a noise, that's not percussion. You have to hit something. Though there are a few alternatives. It's primarily striking, but this is considered percussion as well. So shaking would count for these type of things, and then some of them are scraping as well. So that would be percussion, but scraping is just like a bunch of tiny hits. So it's still basically you're hitting something. Even when you're shaking it, it's just hitting itself basically. So you're hitting something to make it make a sound. So the most standard instrument is this one. This is a snare drum. This is what you first use in band primarily, or what you learn on, let's say. But it's also one of the primary drums just in rock music. It's one of the main ones used in a drum set. So you hear ga, ga, that's the ga, is this. So the snare drum is used for lots of stuff. It has an individual mechanism on it that most drums do not have on it. So with it off, it just sounds like a tom drum. It sounds a little different. But at the bottom, it's got all these metal braided wires that, when tightened against it on the bottom, now make it sound like that. And the percussion is all about learning to control the sticks and do things with them. We've all, hit things and thrown sticks. We're all accustomed to that. But we're not used to having delicate control over it, so that you can always hit it just a single time instead of accidentally buzzing it, or buzz it when you want to, or hit it quickly twice when you want to, but never to mix with things, so that you can do whatever things you want to do without mixing them up. So you can do singles, just back and forth, or doubles, where you hit 2 and a 2, or then buzzing it. Those are your 3 primary ways to do it. And there's different combinations of stuff. If you do a right, left, right, then a left, right, left, it's called a paradiddle. It's very cool. Percussion has weird names for stuff. All the other instruments have their proper Italian names for all their terms. Percussion has ridiculous names. It's lots of fun. Paradiddles, pataflaflas, flams, really silly names, but they're very fun. So yes, this is what you first learn on. So you learn how to hold the sticks, how to strike them, and how to keep the beat and maintain rhythm for the band. Percussion is hugely important for beat keeping. Mostly for keeping the director's beat. Because if the violin or the trumpet decides to go a little fast or slow, there's a whole band against them, and they can stay with it. But the drummer just decides, I'm going to play a ton faster. The band has a really hard time not doing what they want, because you can't not hear the drums. So the drums are very important for people to maintain their beat. Just the random ones over here today that are nice and noisy for everyone. Everyone knows good old cowbells, different size cowbells. A little lower, you can't quite see, but wood blocks that are used usually in a band situation to create extra noises for various things, give kind of sound effects. And then you have some drums like this djembe that you strike with just your hands. You would normally be seated, but it's basically like a bongo. It's not going to ring nicely like that. But this one you would use with your hands, but still percussion because you're hitting it. Usually you would have a few of these around, so they have different pitches, a little higher or lower, so you can change it up. But we'll have all these up here for you to try, but basically percussion is hitting stuff. It also includes the piano or a xylophone. Xylophone's more obviously percussion because you're hitting it with mallets, but it's just a piano that you hit with sticks. So it's all percussion. And it's lots of fun. And parents, if they want to, lots of kids want to start percussion because it's just fun and noisy. But you get pads at first, so it's really quiet. So it doesn't have to be like that the whole time at your house, which is lovely. So get drum pads. That's very important. All right, I think that's all. What's next?
Next up is strings, if you will. Have easy coming.
Strings.
Oh, let's see.
Hello! I'm going to need
Do you need a little stopper?
What?
Do you need a little stopper?
No.
Okay.
This cello, as you can see, has had some love. If you are blessed enough to get this cello, you get to mark your own little thing in it very carefully, with your parents' permission. We've had this cello a long time. It has been rented by lots of people. And so, yes, this is a cello. It is the second biggest string instrument. Zeke should bring out a bass.
Oh,
please.
okay, I'll tell him.
I got it.
Oh, okay, never.
The bass is like so huge. This looks big, but it looks so little compared to a bass. And we don't even have a full-size bass. But the cello is really, really nice because you get a wide, story I might need one of those things. But it has a nice deep sound. And it's just it has such a warm sound to it. So when you're playing, it's just really nice. You can use it in an orchestra. It's used oftentimes in weddings, and like that's very, very often used in weddings. You have to learn the bass clef when you play the cello, though as you advance, you do get to play the cello in other clefs as well, but you'll get to that later. So the cello is super cool. Still not the biggest one. I'm gonna go get the next smallest one.
The bigger the instrument, the lower the sound. So she's kind of stepping you up. So the sound is going to get higher with each one she brings out, unless somebody brings the bass out.
I saw the bass out. So. All right, this one, a lot of people don't know much about. It is the most unique of the 4-string instruments. Obviously, there's guitar and banjo. There are other stringed instruments, but these are like the ones that you think of when you think of a stringed instrument. They each have 4 strings: the bass, the cello. This is the viola and the violin. Now, this is not my viola, but it is still a viola. It's bigger. You can see it's bigger than the violin, and it's thicker than the violin. And the viola gets a deeper, lower sound too, like the cello, but you play it like a violin, which is kind of cool, so it's different. Okay, so it has, again, the more deep, mellow sound to it, but you play it up on your shoulder like you do a violin. Now, there is something very special and unique about the viola, and that is that it plays in its own clef. How many of you have played some piano? Okay, so the piano, you have treble clef and bass clef, right? So you have the 2 clefs that you learn. And the cello is in the bass clef, and so is the bass. The violin is in the treble clef. This one is not in either of those. The viola is in its own clef called the alto clef. So that is the main reason why there are so few violists out there. But that's one of the things, especially parents, it's pretty cool because there are less of them. There's more demand for them for weddings or big Christmas concerts or fancy orchestras. There are less viola players, and so everyone's like, do you play viola? Do you play viola? And I'm like, yes, I'll do it. So I actually have, well, I don't know. I probably had about the same amount of violin and viola gigs because I can play the viola. So that one's cool. Oh, and colleges. Colleges always need violas too. So, scholarships. All right, and then here's the baby of the family. This is the violin. This one I started, not this particular I started the violin when I was 5, and so my violin was, this big. And that's one of the cool things about the string instruments is that they make them tiny, so you can start at a very young age. But anyway, so I've been playing this for a long time. We don't need to say exactly how long. But this has your E string, so it can play the highest. So if I were to play like a big fancy scale, okay, and you can even go all the way up here and play very high, okay? Oh, yes. Anyway, I'm gonna play a little bit more on this one because it's my favorite and my specialty, to give you an idea of these instruments. So I'm gonna start with something classical, because most of the time when you think of string instruments, you think of very classical, like sip your tea and listen to some classical music. Just very beautiful and clean and crisp sounding. Lots and lots of fun stuff to play with that. But there's also really fun things like fiddle music. Really, really fun stuff. And there are double stops, which are often used in fiddle music. Okay, so lots of fun double stops and playing fast and all that stuff. And and pizzicato is something that you can do on all of these string instruments, and that's where you're plucking, which is really, really fun. And then there are pieces as you advance where you get to do some plucking and playing with the bow as well. So lots of really, really cool things that you get to learn. But I will tell you now, it does take practice. This type of stuff doesn't just happen over time, just like you don't learn calculus just after a few months of having a few lessons in calculus. You have to actually study and learn and practice, and try not to let yourself get frustrated, because there are things where it's like, oh, this is so hard. But some of those things that I just played for you were the hardest part of a piece that I learned, and now they're my favorite parts, because when you practice them and you conquer them, then it's just like, this is so cool. So you get very powerful by playing. Now we're going to show you the bass, just because it's super cool.
The bass is the big one. This is not even a full size. This is a 3/4 size bass. So it's going to get a little bigger than this. Or eventually you'll have to sit on a stool in the back because you'll just be reaching up too high. But in an orchestra situation, these are played with a bow just like the rest of them. It does take more pressure to make it come out because it's just bigger. The string is fatter. It doesn't want to vibrate. You have to work it harder. So if you just pull gently, it kind of just barely comes out. So you do have to kind of dig a little bit to get it to come out. But it is by far the lowest. It's the same string for the weight as an electric bass. So like in a rock band bass, those notes are the same. Yes, just like that. So yes, it can be used to play with the bow just the same way. But then a lot of times it is used, like the primary setting I suppose is jazz is used for, where they will pluck instead. It's very low and provides the foundation for the chords and whatever group setting that you're in. So basically very cool. Now, my sister mentioned that, so the violin is the baby of all of these. And there are, they make them different sizes, so you can start right away. So you can be a very tiny person and start the violin right away. So to help demonstrate that,
You can be a very large person.
less.
Brass is next.
Brass is next.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you all while you're all in here, when you go and play out an instrument and stuff, we do not touch this. This is it's actual horsehair, but if you touch it, it gets like the oil from your fingers on it, and then it doesn't work as well. So I'm just telling everyone right now, don't touch the horsehair. It gives me creeps just thinking of.
Hey, Evie.
Yes.
While he is coming back for the brass, you want to show them that you can play all kinds of fun music on the violin, like music they know or might know.
Okay, so real quickly, yes, I usually do end with some fun stuff. So I'm gonna play different tunes, and when you recognize the tune, I want you to raise your hand. Okay? No one knows that? One maybe person? A couple people back there? That's from Pirates of the Caribbean. It's just cool music. It's really cool music. Alright, I'll do something a little easier now. Okay, alright, now let's go on to, where does someone look like? There we go. I knew I had some others. Mario! Everyone knows that, right? Alright, what about this one? From Zelda! Video game music is just super fun. Yes, it is. It is really old, yes. I wouldn't say very old. And now, let's see. There are so many. There are so many. Oh, most of y'all should know this one. Boys, I'm sorry. Everyone used to raise their hands at that, but now I think everyone's embarrassed. Yep, that one's from Frozen. Alright, what are some other ones? Ice Age is a good one. I don't have a particular song from Ice Age that I know super well. Let's see. Oh, someone's probably gonna do that though. I don't want to take away someone else's song. Alright, so. That one's from Tangled. Okay, and like I said, there are a couple others that I can think of that I'm pretty sure someone else is going to do on brass, so I'm not going to do them. So I won't even give you a hint. Alright, we're going to send on the next group.
Alright, brass instruments. Brass instruments use a mouthpiece to make the sound. So woodwinds use a reed most of the time that causes the vibration, and that's what makes the noise. So for these, this is the one for a smaller brass instrument and then for a larger brass instrument, but they're both just a little, metal bowl on the inside. But nothing moves on here. The reed is what vibrates, but here there's no reed, there's nothing at all. So the only thing that can vibrate is you. So you have to buzz your lips. You have to go in this, and then it makes noises. Like a kazoo kind of gets. And the lower one, not bigger one, obviously makes a lower buzz. And then you put it inside one of the instruments, which has it's basically just, it extends this. It makes it a really long pipe, it twists it all up and stuff, but then it makes it sound nice. If you made a slightly longer pipe, it would sound a little better than this. So when it's short, it's just really funny sounding. So we will work our way up. We'll start with the biggest one. This is called what?
Tuba.
This is called the tuba. So this is the biggest one. So it's the lowest one. The bigger the instrument is, the lower the sound is.
Don't
So it's very low, it takes a lot of air. This is not my primary brass, so it uses more air than I'm accustomed to. So I'm breathing a lot more than you will if you've been playing it for a while. Yeah, just very low notes. It will go a little higher, but there's no need for it to go into the mid-range in general because you have the, smaller instruments available for that. So in general, this is going to play your lowest notes. The next one, I've got two that are in the same category. We have this one and this one. So these two are both mid-range. So I mean they're low if you're talking about the whole band. But for brass, they're in the middle. They're not the high ones, but they're not the lowest ones. These are about in the same pitch range. This one is basically just a small tuba. It's the baritone or euphonium. Work with me. Woo. So it'll be similar to the tuba, just higher. So it's still low, but it's not super low. And then the trombone is kind of in its own category for how it's played. It's the only one that's different, really. All the brass instruments, except the trombone, have the buttons, the valves that you push down. And it does the same thing that this does. This, when the instrument is bigger, it makes a lower sound. So when it does this, it literally just makes it a little longer, sound goes down some more, goes down some more, goes down some more. So you're just making it bigger by literally sliding it. With these instruments, there are certain parts, like right here, that the air does not go through unless you push this button. Now it allows air to go through there, making it bigger, just like the trombone does. You just do it with a special button that you didn't think about doing that. This is very obvious that you're making it bigger when you move it down. This also gives it the ability to slide, whereas most brass instruments in general can't do it in the same way. So trombones can do the little so it's about the same pitch as the baritone. They hit around the same notes. It just has a little different sound, a little more flair, and it's facing forward, which is nicer for like a marching situation. That is more for sitting and playing. Sound goes a little more up and out. This one, just like a trumpet, goes straight forward. Yeah, trombone is the most odd for me to play because the trumpet is not primary, so any of them with valves I'm comfortable with. This is totally different. I have to like think while I'm playing this one for what note I'm playing. But trombone is very cool. And then the last one here is the trumpet. So again, they all do the same thing. The other one that's slightly different is the French horn. It's still got valves, but you play it with the left hand. I don't know why they decided that. That's the only thing different. So if you play the trumpet, you can very easily play the French horn. A few tiny differences, but mostly it's just left hand. So you just mirror the same fingerings. So trumpet is the highest one, and it's also very bright. Which is why it's used in for military calls, and then just in the King's Court type thing. It's very big, epic, bright sounding. Especially if you get a few of them together playing fanfares, it sounds very cool. So for all these, you just go and you put it in there and make the noise. And then you just control it by how small or big you're making the hole in your lips that you're blowing through, and then how fast you're blowing the air.
Like a mini tube.
Yes, very similar, I think. So anyway, that is how brass works. It's lots of fun, very loud. Oh, there are things. You can get mutes in them to make them quiet, and then you can have some fun. This is when you use them for jazz type situations. So lots of fun things to do with brass. All right, we're going to switch
To woodwinds.
woodwinds.
vibrates against this black mouthpiece when I blow into it, and that's what creates the sound, because the sound is from the vibrating reed. There is only one instrument in the woodwind family